anyway, we're sort of the dad's army of these days. We are trying to save our country from a very serious enemy that many people have called the Great Reset, or the armies of the Great Reset, and you are in the Home Guard calling yourself the Great Resist.
Yes, now, I'm not sure whether I'm Mrs. Pike or I have to smile because the analogy is absolutely wonderful. It's a bit like the Vicar of Dibley's parish council, really, isn't it? I'm so sorry, Alistair, but I have to have a grin, as we all do, and that's exactly how we resist, don't we?
Yes. Well, it's important to have you on tonight because you were going to have a conference in Liverpool on Saturday, just gone, Saturday the 11th, and well, do you want to just tell us how many people were going to be at your conference and what they were going to talk about, and then what happened? Because it's a very serious matter.
With pleasure, I'll tell you. The maximum amount of the hotel was 350. We couldn't go above that for health and safety reasons, and we were actually sold out, Alistair. Now, you were very good, and you were part of our first Great Resist conference, which we started off in June in Newport, and you were part of that. And then we moved to Peterborough for the same hotel chain, the Holiday Inn chain, in Peterborough in September, and had a wonderful do there with just under 400 people, slightly bigger venue. And then I wanted to move to Manchester and couldn't get a venue in the Manchester area. I made nearly 100 phone calls in all around the Manchester area, Greater Manchester, which I know like the back of my hand. My husband comes from that half of the world, as did my mother. So I'm very familiar with it, but I couldn't get anywhere. One hotel wanted 7,500 for 6 hours. And then on top of that, you had to pay for the projector that was already in the wall. So I had a giggle, as you do, and thought this is just not on. When you charge a £5 a head per person, because I want the ordinary British, if you like, the ordinary British people to come. I don't want highfalutin, Eton, Oxford educated people. I want the real people who voted for Brexit. These are the people that you want to come along who've woken up and are the real people of the country. So we only charged a £5 a head, so £7,500 was out of the question. Anyway, we ended up at the Holiday Inn in Liverpool, and I worked with a splendid girl there called Barbara, and right up, this was sort of like 6 weeks before, and paid the deposit. Then at the appropriate day, I paid the full amount, paid the balance, as you know, and carried on. And right up until that morning, last Wednesday morning, before Saturday, I was in correspondence with Barbara. All was absolutely fine. Late on Wednesday night, we had an email saying this. Due to a communication we have received, we are no longer able to hold your conference on Saturday to a communication. Now, I think you've got it there, Alistair. You no need to go through it, but it's from a group called Liverpool Against Hate, which maybe, you know. And
well, when you hear a name like that, you know it's Liverpool for that. It's hateful people saying such a thing. Yes, that's it. That's there. Won't go through the whole thing, but I've gone through it, and I can tell you that the only things that they seem to be upset about is you let me see it here. They don't like the fact that you're highlighting the Great Reset because they think that the Great Reset doesn't actually exist, and that you're questioning the climate agenda, and you're also questioning elements of the 2020 situation that happened. That I always am careful not to mention the words, or the algorithms will shut us off. So you're questioning those things quite rightly, but they seem to think that that's wrong, that you're questioning those things, and then they claim that your website endorses a particular group whose only crime seems to be that they oppose quote-unquote cultural Marxism. and they go on to say that this opposing cultural Marxism is some sort of conspiracy theory, which apparently means that it's not true. And then another group there, Students Against Tyranny. They can't actually find anything to complain about Students Against Tyranny, so they went on to one of Student Against Tyranny's social media sites and discovered one or two people there posting one or two fruity pictures that could be, that's not actually Students Against Tyranny. It's just simply material that's on Student Against Tyranny's social media sites. But that's enough to condemn them as well. And they end up by saying that we respect that both the patrons and employees of the Holiday Inn chain represent many cultures, religions, races, sexualities and gender identities, and hope that you understand how hosting an event that is happy to endorse those whose views would see such diversity as a weakness. Let's say that again. To endorse those whose views would see such diversity as a weakness would damage the reputation of your hotel group. Well, that's such a stretch, and it's just so ridiculous that it does tell you that these people just, what do you make of it?
I had to smile because all the people that they say that we're against or could cause a problem would all be in our audience, which was absolutely, every race, colour, nationality, religion, you name it, part of the Great Resist is all these people. And of course, we're not against anything. And hate is the least of all our views that you can wish to have. And to say that Hearts of Oak and Students Against Tyranny are somehow hate organisations, well, anybody with a grain of common sense, Alistair, says, why would any of us, go along with any of this? But let me just tell you about one or two of the people that we had. We were talking about health and, in various guises, and we had 4 very eminent people from the medical world speaking, including Dr. Robert Malone. And most people know of him from America. So, it's not any small thing. Also, we talk a lot about 5G electromagnetic frequencies as well, and the 4th Industrial Revolution. What people don't seem to realise is that people like Elon Musk wish to put a chip into your brain so that you can connect immediately to your computer. Now, that to me is absolutely, it's obscene, to say the least. And then on top of that, we have people like Neil Petrie and Richard Borner. Now, Neil Petrie is an advocate for direct democracy from Switzerland. And Richard Borner, in conjunction with Neil, has developed a program called Block Vote, whereby if you have a referendum, everybody can do it on a voting system which is totally secure. So, I cannot see where the Liverpool Against Hate can possibly have a gripe against us. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yes.
And then sorry, go on.
Sorry, I think the reason that they do is because these are people who, if they sniff any kind of anti-globalist agenda, which the sort of things you're talking about there could be thrown into the field of anti-globalist, pro-UK, pro-sovereignty, pro-national sovereignty. If you're at all anti-globalist, if you're at all against any of the orthodoxies of the modern world, then they see you as an enemy. And this word hate is used just to slander people. And I've been upset at the so-called right wing latching onto that in the last couple of weeks as well. And Suella Braverman as well, calling things hate, is just feeding totally into that leftist, for want of a better expression, pro-globalist agenda, where you just throw that mark on somebody as a hateful person, as a hater, preaching hate or whatever, and then you can do anything to them, including cancelling them as they've done to you. And what these people want to do is just make it impossible for you to politically organise in any way. They want to make it impossible for the anti-globalist movement and people to organise anywhere at any time. But who are these people? These people are probably just 2 or 3 disaffected youths with access to an email. That's really all that group is. they're not a big, massive movement representing any kind of significant demographic in society. So it's really shameful that they should be able to basically put you out, because it's not just putting you out. It's you. Did you say there was over 300 people were going?
350.
Well, some of them will have bought a night in the Holiday Inn. I would presume they'll be staying in Liverpool overnight. They've already spent money.
One group I think of 6 or 8 had actually gone to a bed and breakfast, and the poor people in the bed and breakfast place had actually got all the food in because they were going to eat in as well, as you can imagine. So it's a huge knock-on effect, and many people in Liverpool have kicked up over this, as you can imagine, Alistair, because it's not the people of Liverpool, and I don't believe this is Liverpool against hate. I think it's Hope Not Hate, who are government funded through spurious means. So,
yes.
But what they don't realise is the idiots, and I have to say they are complete idiots. What they don't realise is it's given us far more publicity from what they've done, far more support. And, people are absolutely infuriated that on Armistice Day, when we chose this day in particular because we're carrying on the fight against the globalists, which is a fight for free speech and total freedom, as we who were born in the late 40s, early 50s, have all enjoyed, Alistair. We want the same for our children. They don't seem to realise, that this is what we were all about. We had 2 wonderful people talking about agriculture, one from this country and one from New Zealand, because, of course, agriculture is being shut down all over. And I've just watched a programme with Malcolm Roberts from Australia saying that farms are being seized in Australia. And this is to stop actual farming, actual growing of food. And then on top of that, we had the wonderful Kathy Gingell from the Conservative Woman, who spoke on alternative media and sticking to your guns. So when you speak the truth, Alistair, you've got to continue to speak the truth. And no matter what's thrown at you, you just keep going, because
yes.
That's exactly, and she opened the conference with that. And so we had a wonderful cross-section. And then we had Michael Tellinger from South Africa, who has started in South Africa One Small Town, which is an absolute wonderful concept, which is just being rolled out over here, together with Mark Taylor from Thetford in Norfolk, who has actually gone on to setting up a sovereign council, because people are so fed up with their councils, town councils, parish councils, metropolitan borough councils, etc., not doing what the constituencies want. So there's Mark Taylor from Thetford. They've set up a sovereign council, which matches in with a group that we work with called the Great Rising, who are want to go from a corporate Britain to a sovereign Britain to get all this back. We've got to take the initiative out of the hands of the politicians in Whitehall, and also with you up in Edinburgh and down in Cardiff in South Wales. And of course, Northern Ireland aren't sitting at the moment. But, we've got to bring this back to the people and got to get rid of the politicians as they are. This is where the problem is. Across the world, if you think of Israel and Palestine, the Israelis and the Palestinians will live side by side quite happily. It's the political elite that's causing the trouble everywhere. We've got to get rid of them, Alistair.
Oh, yeah, I second that emotion. Yeah, did you say Thetford there?
Yes, Thetford is in Norfolk.
Yes,
Thetford in East Anglia. Yeah,
that's where they filmed Dad's Army, in the town of Thetford.
Yes, up yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Absolutely, I agree. So the question is, what can be done about this now? I was minded when I heard of a situation that occurred at the start of this year when an SNP MP that I don't have any particular love for or anything like that, but she wanted to do an event at a venue in Edinburgh, and they prevented her doing it on the basis that the staff didn't like her message, because she was Joanna Cherry. She was anti the trans movement, basically, and she wanted to talk about that. and the venue did what they did to you, was they cancelled the event. But because she's actually a King's Counsel, and because she's well in with the crowd who are lawyers and people like that, she got a separate King's Counsellor to give advice on the matter, and she basically obtained advice of a senior counsel, KC as they call it, who argued that cancelling her like that was unlawful discrimination under the Equality Act. Now I'll just throw up the law here that I've got summary of the law. Here we go. There we go. Section 4 of the Equality Act 2010 includes protection for religion or belief. And belief means, quote, any religious or philosophical belief, and a reference to belief includes a reference to a lack of belief, whatever a lack of belief is. But basically, if you have a philosophical belief on something, that's meant to be protected under the Equality Act. And so she sent this advice. She got a lawyer to contact their lawyers, and lo and behold, the venue backed down, and the venue apologised, and they sent a message here. Can't see that because the Great Resist thing is in the way. Let me just get rid of that banner. There we go. Apology. Our clients unreservedly apologise to your client for their previous decision. They hope that your client will accept their unreserved apology. Our clients intend to publicly acknowledge that their previous decision unlawfully discriminated against your client and publicly apologise to your client for that decision. So they basically, none of that went to court or anything like that. That was just settled out of court. But it's still an example. It's still a precedent that can be used to show that it could well be this sort of activity of just cancelling people could be actually unlawful in law. And the Equality Act is pro-UK. It's throughout the United Kingdom, so it applies as much in Liverpool as it does there in Edinburgh. So that's one angle, but of course that requires a lawyer that wants to work with you. It requires money to pay a lawyer and all that sort of stuff. But I suppose there's also the breach of contract. Have you thought about that as an angle?
I have indeed, Alistair. And, unfortunately, when you look at all these things, it might be all right for Joanna Cherry in Scotland, who is an MSP, I think, member of the Scottish Parliament.
MP, no, she's a member of Parliament.
MP, sorry, I beg your pardon. And also, she's well in with lawyers, etc., who will take this on. I always find that if you go down the legal route like this, it's the lawyers that make a lot of money, and you end up either paying a lot of money and not getting anything back, etc. But there is something called common law. Now, common law states one thing, or states two things really. You cause no harm, loss, or injury, and you are honourable in your contracts. So I'm looking at dealing with this under common law, and I've got people that are well versed in common law that are more than happy to look at how we take this through. Instead of going down the route which costs an arm and a leg through solicitors and barristers, and when you look at it at the end of the day, they're all brother and Bob anyway. I'm looking at taking this through common law. Mm-hmm. So, and that is the basis of British law. Cause no harm, loss, or injury, and be honourable in your contracts. I was, they weren't.
Yes, well, that's a very that's a good angle as well to do. I'm thinking it might be an idea that in future to have a document prepared already to say when they come back to you, when they come to you to say. You can't be there when they cancel you. That might just be one young manager who gets the frighteners suddenly. Oh my, what's this? What are they talking about? What's this kind of politics? What's going to happen? Is there going to be a mass demonstration outside the Holiday Inn? Panics, thinks I'll take the easy route. I'll just cancel the event. But if somebody came straight back and said, well, actually, breach of contract 1, 2, 3, 4, actually unlawful discrimination under the Equality Act, chapter and verse, then he's going to go, oh, he's going to look at this, and then he's going to look at your letter, and you know what? Just let them have it. So it might just be in future. It might just be something like that. If I mean, I can help you with this as well. We can prepare it, or others helps. You've got other
Alistair,
people helping you, I know, but just something for the manager to look at as an alternative and say, oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I don't want to get the Holiday Inn into trouble. I don't want to get into all sort of breach of contract problems. And who knows, maybe, because it's really bad when something like that happens. I mean, we don't want that to happen again.
We certainly don't. We took it on the nose on the day. We didn't panic at all. We managed to get it out virtually, which we hadn't done before, and people stuck with us, God bless them, apart from a couple of technical problems where we had all our speakers, if you like, that came on, Alistair, and did it virtually at the time that they would have done it in Liverpool. And we've also obviously put the speeches up on the website like we've done before, like you would do too.
Good. Well, let's get your website address up there. thegreatresist.net.
That's correct.
Yes, all one word, thegreatresist.net. Good. Well, I'm glad that you were able to do quite a lot of that virtually then as well. But it always helps if you've got the physicality to actually meet people, to say hello to people, to bond in that way. And that's so crucial about what you're doing, which is the actual physical stuff. You're doing a balance. You're doing physical stuff and video stuff, which is a good balance.
Thank you, Alistair, very much. And yes, the next event is on the 3rd of February next year, and I will do my very best. You can never say it will never happen again, because I wouldn't. But of course, we used the Holiday Inn in Peterborough. We went there and had a wonderful time in September. We had just under 400 people there, and it was absolutely fantastic and no problem at all. And again, the staff in the Holiday Inn at Peterborough, at Liverpool, Barbara, who I dealt with, absolutely first class. It was the management that the problem.
Yes,
and so we will be sorting out. I will keep you updated.
Yes, that's right. So many of the management as well, it's not that they're ideological themselves, it's just that they take the easiest route, the path of least resistance, or what they imagine is the path of least resistance. But anyway, well done for everything that you do. We'll definitely get you back on again if there's any advances in this sort of situation, any news about how it might resolve itself in time, then we'll certainly be coming to you to find out, and we'll stay in touch about all of it. So just remains for me to say thank you very much for coming on tonight, and more power to your elbow, Liz.
It's an absolute pleasure. And believe it or not, there was a huge article written in the Conservative Woman, with nothing to do with the Conservative Party before anybody. Beautiful article from somebody from New South Wales in Australia, Paul Collett. And I'm going to interview him next week. And so, we're worldwide, and it's done the wonders.
Good. Well, I know the article that you've got. We'll put that out on our social media platforms and on this thread as well, and also on the video that we put up of this interview on YouTube. So we'll do our best to push that around as well. Good.
Bless you.
Okay, then.
Thank you very much, and to all your listeners, the Scots all around the world. God bless you all.
God bless you too. Good night.